Scores of jihadi fighters, accompanied by their brides and children, have left Islamic State group's last pocket of territory in eastern Syria as part of an escorted convoy. Women carrying bundles of their possessions, some with knockoff designer bags, lined up to be searched before being transported. The move came just hours after U.S.-led coalition airstrikes intended to pressure the militants targeted the area on the banks of the Euphrates River. At least 36 trucks and 2 buses were seen leaving through a humanitarian corridor from the militants' last patch of territory in the remote village of Baghouz near the Iraqi border. They were escorted by gun-mounted trucks belonging to the U.S.-backed Syrian Democratic Forces (SDF). Women and children carrying fake designer bags are searched by fighters with the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces (SDF). Image, AFP, Getty Images. As the convoy passed, automatic machine gun fire could be heard in the distance and coalition aircraft flew overhead. They are thought to be heading to a camp for displaced people. Galia Ali, a young Tunisian French woman, was among the civilians leaving the militants' last enclave. It's believed that tens of thousands of people have left the IS camp in the last few weeks. Image, AFP, Getty Images. She said she had no regret about abandoning her life in Tunisia to join the militants in 2014. Eastern Syria. Like Ali, many were relatives of Islamic State fighters who have followed the group during years of retreat until it fell back to the village of Baghouz, now besieged by the U.S.-backed Syrian Democratic Forces (SDF). A man on crutches waits for transport. Image, AFP, Getty Images. God's world is big. The most important thing is that I do not return to France or Tunisia, she told Reuters, saying life had been impossible for her in both places because of her decision to wear the full Islamic face veil, or niqab. Accompanied only by her 2 young children at a checkpoint on the edge of Baghouz on Friday, Ali said she did not know what had happened to her Syrian husband from Latakia, and his fighter who traveled with her to the village near the Iraqi border. He is somewhere, currently I truly don't know where, said Ali, laughing faintly beneath her veil. Ali and her children, a girl aged nearly 3 and a 18-month-old boy, were headed to the Al-Hol camp in SDF-controlled northeast Syria. Children waited for transport to the camp for displaced people. Image, AFP, Getty Images. Along with her mother, who went with her to Syria, Ali joined us after being won over by one of its propaganda videos. She said she had been disowned by her brother, who serves in the French army, which belongs to the coalition backing the SDF. The gradual defeat of the militant group's caliphate has rescued millions of people from draconian laws, harsh punishments and, for minorities, slaughter or sexual slavery. Ali said she would meet at the camp with her mother, who had already quit Baghouz. God will fix things for me, she said. The last IS camp has been under siege for more than a week. Image, AFP, Getty Images. Muslim convert screams Allahu Akbar as he's jailed for vile Facebook rant. Some 300 IS militants, along with hundreds of civilians believed to be mostly their families, have been under siege for more than a week in the tent camp in Baghouz. The Kurdish-led SDF surrounding the patch of land have been unable to carry out a final assault on it because of the presence of the civilians. An SDF spokesman, Mustafa Bali, said there were coalition airstrikes and intermittent clashes earlier on Friday with the militants, which were meant to pressure them into allowing the last civilians to leave. A man pray as they prepare to be searched by Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces. Image, AFP, Getty Images. For this evacuation to be a success, there needs to be military action, he added. The presence of so many civilians in Baghouz, and possibly senior members of the militant group, have slowed down the expected defeat of IS in the past few weeks. Nearly 20,000 people had left Baghouz through the humanitarian corridor, leaving the IS stronghold on foot. A young girl looks on as women and children who fled the Islamic State group's last embattled holdout of Baghouz wait to evacuate the area. Image, AFP, Getty Images. However, the militants then closed the passage and no civilians left for a week until Wednesday, when a large group was evacuated. Mr. Bali suggested many more civilians were inside, in caves and tunnels under the tents as well as surrounding homes and buildings. A member of the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces (SDF) carries a baby followed by the mother who cries and asks for help after leaving the IS stronghold. Image, AFP, Getty Images. If we succeed in evacuating all the civilians, at any moment we will take the decision to storm Baghouz or force the terrorists to surrender, said Bali. Recapturing Baghouz would mark an end to the territorial rule of the militants' self-proclaimed caliphate that once stretched across a third of both Syria and Iraq. It would also allow U.S. President Donald Trump to begin withdrawing American troops from northern Syria, as he has pledged to do, opening a new chapter in Syria's 8-year civil war. An injured boy sips on water as he waits to leave. Image, AFP, Getty Images. Few believe, however, that ending the group's territorial rule will end the threat posed by an organization that still stages and inspires attacks through sleeper cells in both Syria and Iraq. The Trump administration, which abruptly announced in December that it was pulling out of Syria, said on Thursday that it will keep 200 U.S. troops in the country for now.